Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be focusing on the eyes and how easily you can put on some eyeshadow. It's of course no pro technique. It's a basic everyday makeup technique that I have been doing, and I thought it would be nice if I share it with you. There is a separate video where I show you how I do the makeup on my face. I'm going to link that down below in case you're interested. And as I mentioned, today's focus is going to be the eyes. Before you start putting on eyeshadow, you can put an eyeshadow primer. Now, I never do that. I just go ahead and apply my eyeshadow. A lot of people use a little bit of concealer on their eyes. The point behind using a concealer or eyeshadow primer is that when your eyes have like a uniform color, because you know that you can see the veins sometimes, so just have like a clear base. People tend to use concealers or eyeshadow primers. So I'm not gonna put more than that, just a little bit. And I will blend that with a beauty blender. You can already see the difference between them. As you can see, this eye is more like a blank canvas on which you can work. If you feel like the inner corners of your eyes are blue or dark, you can place a little bit of concealer there too, just to brighten up your inner corners. The concealer that I put on is considered liquid or creamy. You cannot place a shadow, which is powder, on top of something that's creamy. It's just not going to blend as easily. So in case your palette that you're using doesn't have a skin tone shade, you can use the powder that you use to set your face in order to set the concealer. I'm just gonna place this powder all over my eye, so that any eyeshadow that I apply on top can blend very, very easily. Okay, now that the eyes are prepped, you can start with the shadows. This is Anastasia's Soft Glam palette. I chose this because I find it very, very beginner friendly. I don't know, I just like all the shades. You can do a bronzy look with a pop of pink. You can do a little bit of, you know, dark red or dark brown look. There's even a dusty rose shade. So it's really, really versatile. And you have your shimmer shades and your matte shades. So it's a really, really beginner friendly palette. There is no right or wrong when you're applying eyeshadow, but there are certain things that if you follow, it just makes application way easier. So as you can see, these three shades, the lightest shades, and you can tell already I've hit pan on this shade. That's how much I like this. So I'm going to use this as a transition shade. Now, what is a transition shade? A transition shade is the one that's going to be placed on the crease of the eye, a little bit above the crease as well. And it's going to be used as a transition because you don't want your shadow to look just like one color. You want a variation, an ombre of shadow. So you start with your transition and then you start or choose whatever shade you want to use on your eyelid. So I'm going to first use Burnt Orange, which is this shade. You don't have to choose this shade. You can go with Orange Soda, even Rustic. You might think that that's too dark, but it's okay because if you just take it with a light hand, you can apply this as a transition as well. Of course, let's not forget that the eye shape plays a big role. So you just have to play around with the makeup and learn your own eye shape and how to apply on yourself. As you can see, my crease is right here. So with a very, very light hand and using a blending brush, this particular one is from Morphe. This is M441. It can be just any blending brush. You can use any brush as long as it's big and fluffy enough, because you're not going to be depositing shadow on your eyelid. You're just putting on shadow in the crease and you want to blend that. So you need something that is fluffy enough to do that job. So I'm going to use the Morphe brush As you can see, I'm not firmly holding it. I'm not holding it from here or from there, just like very loosely. I'm going to place that shadow on my crease. You see that? Now, as I'm placing it, I'm going in circular motion. If you're not satisfied with the concentration of the shadow, you can always go back, dip a little more, and add. That's the fun part about blending shadow. It's just you have to make sure that in the beginning you are very, very light-handed, because when you just place too much, then it's very difficult to remove that. Whereas if you put a little by little, it's very easy to just keep on building the shadow. And always start from the sides, and once you feel like you don't really have a lot of shadow left on the brush, take the brush and swoop it in. At this point, you can just add an eyeliner, a mascara, and you are ready to go. You really don't need to proceed further in case you don't really feel comfortable using eyeshadow. But if you want to take this the next step, then you will need another brush. So as you can see, the brush I used to blend the transition shade is a bit bigger than the brush I'm going to use next. So now you'll need a bit more defined brush, still blending brush, still fluffy enough. There's some shadow on there. Now I'm going to dip into this shade called Sienna, okay, right here. Okay, right where your eye socket is. Like, for example, if I open my eye, I know that's weird, but do you see where the brush is when I open my eyes? So you want to place that dark shadow there. So when you first place it, look how messy it's going to look like, but then you're going to blend that with the same brush that you used to place it. But this time be more precise. Don't just start blending and moving that shadow everywhere. Keep the shadow only on the outer corner. Okay. And then go back to the big fluffy brush and blend all the edges. You can repeat this step until you have placed enough shadow that you are satisfied with. Let's say I'm satisfied with this look, I'll stop right here. But if I want to define the corners even more, I'm going to go ahead and place a little more shadow. You can also now, once the shadow is placed on the outer corner, you can bring that shade inward on the crease. And again, with the big fluffy blending brush, blend all of that. See, the reason we put in the transition shade is that now I can blend those two shades together. So again, in circular motion, just blend the shade that you specifically placed on your crease with the transition shade. Next, you're going to need a smaller and way more compact brush. This is an eye shading brush. This particular one is from Sigma E55. You can use a brush like this to place a shadow on your lids, but I also use this on my lower lash line. The same shade that I applied on my crease, which in this case is Sienna. I'm gonna take that with this brush and place that on my lower lash line. But of course, don't, again, keep a very light hand. And again, with any blending brush that is clean and there's no shadow on it, just blend that shadow. You can keep the look matte and just choose any shade that's matte in order to place on your lid. But today I want to use this shade, Rose Pink, because I really love that shade. And a word of advice, with glitter or shimmer shades, it's best to use your fingers. So I'm going to use my finger. You see this area where I did not place any shadow? I'm going to put that shimmery shade right there using my fingers. Once you're done placing the shade, just use the blending brush and it will all blend out. You see that on purpose? I moved it to my crease area just to show you that you can fix that in a second. See? Of course, every palette comes with a highlighting shade, but if you don't really like that shade and you want something to stand out more, just use the highlighter that you use on your cheeks. And I place that on the inner corners of my eyes. Usually I would also add on a liner, but most of the time I skip on the liner and just put on some mascara. I love the shade of Velvet Teddy, but it's a matte lipstick. So if I don't want a matte look, what I will do is place a little bit of the Dior lip oil underneath and then apply the lipstick. I really hope you enjoyed this video and found my tutorial, or at least the way I showed you how I do it, very easy. So please, if you are still a beginner and you learned at least one thing from me, leave a nice comment down below and don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you next time. Bye!